because I know that like my Bitcoin is not for sale. And so the price is irrelevant to me. What people don't understand is I don't want to sell my Bitcoin because I want to hold on to it because I value it. So yeah, I'm just a blue collar fiat miner who saves in perfect money. Buy Bitcoin on a regular basis and hold storage it and that's it. And then I live my life. I got a friend of mine who asks me all the time, he's like, Ed, when are we going to, a 500K? I'm like, I don't care.
To come on again, it's really cool.
I'm happy to. I had fun last time, even though I was like nervous and reluctant. Obviously, like whenever I'm asked to do like any sort of public speaking with this speech impediment, I'm always a little reluctant and nervous too. But then every single time at the end of it, I'm like, I got to do this more often. This was so much fun.
Is it getting better if you speak more, or is it just something that like is not developing in any source?
Honestly, it's like every day is a different day. Like I get up some days, and some days it's like really, really hard to talk at all. Other days it's like flowing smoothly, and some people would like a question if I was actually faking it or not. But no, I think today's an okay day. So let's see what happens today. Yeah, so I mean, like, you know what, like last time too, like we just yapped last time. Last time we were just yapping about stuff. And I think it's like interesting nowadays because I was like, I didn't really tell him like my story, like of like how I got into Bitcoin and like the journey of it. And I realized now, I mean, it was like a year ago, right? And I realize now, like I was like still in the beginning phases of my journey. And now, like I'm sure in like 10 years, I'll look back now and feel the same way about where I'm at now. But now I can look back with some perspective and say, like, I was convicted back then. Like I was, pretty sure I had 100% of my net worth in Bitcoin then, or maybe like 95%. But like my conviction rate has gone up tremendously since then. I don't even think about Bitcoin that much anymore, or I should say that I don't think about everything around it now. I just think about the network. Like I don't know how much a Bitcoin is trading for right now. I believe it's in like the 80s or something like that. But like I don't actively look at the price all day anymore, like I used to. You know what? I was going to ask you to, but I don't care what the price is. To be honest with you, I've come so far. Like in the beginning, I was obsessed with the price, and that was the only way that I could really value this thing was by how much somebody else who I didn't know was selling it for to somebody else who I didn't know. And like now I don't care about the price anymore because I know that like my Bitcoin is not for sale. And so the price is irrelevant to me. It's like if you had a Corvette in your driveway and somebody came up to you and was like, how much they're selling that for? And you're like, oh no, it's not for sale. Like I love this car. And it's like, okay, well, what if I gave you like $100,000 for it? And you'd be like, no, it's not for sale. I'm like, what if I gave you $1 million for it? Like, it's not for sale, and like you keep filling up at the price. But like, what people don't understand is I don't want to sell my Bitcoin because I want to hold on to it because I value it that much now. And in the beginning, even like a year ago, I would have sold it for, $1 million or, something like that.
It's super interesting. It's so funny because I had literally this thought today, and I wrote a tweet about that today. That will come out in a few days, but I put it in my draft today because a lot of pre-coiners or even like Bitcoiners that are in the first year, they ask me, or I see them asking other people, oh, like, what do you think the price will be, or where is the Bitcoin price right now? Or for example, I was at the doctor's today, at the dentist, and he was asking me, oh, like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, like, shit, what should I say? Should I say that I have a podcast about Bitcoin? This gives up a whole different vibes. But I said like, oh, I have a Bitcoin podcast, and he's like, oh, interesting. How's it going with Bitcoin now? I heard Trump is not good with it now again. And I was like, it doesn't matter what Trump does for Bitcoin. And he's like, what? And he asked me about the price and stuff like that. And I said to him, I don't know exactly what the price actually is. I just know it's probably around like 100K, something along those lines, but I don't know exactly. And this is what people outside don't get. If you actually get Bitcoin, the daily price doesn't matter. I might look it up if a lot of people talk about it and it shoots up to like 200, 300, 400,000, then like it gets interesting to check it, but also just for short term. But honestly, like right now, I don't know. If I guessed, it's probably about between 80 and 90,000. But I didn't know. I only check it if someone puts it on Twitter, on my Twitter feed.
Me too. Yeah. I only see the price when a friend of mine sends me like a screenshot. Like, look, I got it at 76K. I'm like, wow, that's so cheap right now. That's crazy. But yeah, it's like if you own a home, you're not going to check the value of your home. Also, it's like I can't check the value of my Bitcoin. I can only check the value of somebody else's Bitcoin that they've sold. It's not actually reflective of the value of my coins. I mean, like there's a fungibility here, right? Like it's not like houses where like if your neighbor sells a house, but like he doesn't have a garage, so it's not exactly the same price as your house is with a garage. The fungibility makes it seem like all the coins are the same value, but I know many hodlers who understand that their coins are like they're all worth $100 million each.
Yeah, there's also those hodl waves and how long people already hold on to Bitcoin. And I'm so fascinated and so humbled by the people that you see on chain that held Bitcoin for 10 years and never moved it anywhere. I'm like, did he lose the access to it? So like 10 years is a long time to just be in Bitcoin and never move it, don't do anything with it. The discipline to hodl, it's an underappreciated skill to have, to not do anything fancy. Don't borrow it out. Don't try to trade it, sell it, and stuff like that. Like I admire the OGs that are in for like 10 years plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It absolutely is a skill too, to hodl it, because I think it's just like kind of human nature to assume that we should be doing more. We should be being more productive with our money, right? Like that's like a fiat mindset, though. Is like I've got to put this money to work for me. I've got to force this money to create a yield for me, and like that's like it's just fiat thinking, because that money's broken. And so like you need it to do more than it naturally does on its own. You know, I was just talking to my girlfriend recently about how I'm so glad, like, I don't have to think about retiring from my current job and like opening up something else after this. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm not like entrepreneurial. I don't want to build a business. I'm not like, I just certainly don't want to stare at a screen all day and trade assets. Like, that's not what I want. And so like, I'm just so grateful that I have this money that's more valuable over time. And so I don't have to play these fiat games anymore. And so that is really where, if you understand that, then like hodling isn't really that hard, because I am being productive by not doing anything at all, you know. And you know what, the other thing too, where then you were saying that, I was thinking about, you know, how people estimate that there's like 5 million lost coins or so. I don't think so. I think there's a lot less, because how many times do we see coins move from, you know, 2011, 2012 that we thought were lost, and they consolidate their UTXOs. You know, I remember last year, I think somebody moved $180 million worth, consolidated their UTXOs, and they were all 50 coin mining rewards. Like, I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of people hodling coins from back in the day who understand this thing like as much as, you know, anybody else does. I think it's a little short-sighted to assume that all of the OG hodlers are selling at 100K.
And that is super interesting, because it's also, there's a little bit of an echo in there. Is that an echo? No, there's no echo. Sorry. There was some small things, but it's super interesting when we look at exactly the periods of where people sell, and you're 100% right with the lost Bitcoin, because even if you declare something officially lost, like what does that mean? Like, someone can say, yeah, I lost my 25 Bitcoin or my 100 Bitcoin, and maybe it also never moved, but there's no proof that he actually lost it. Like, you can never prove that someone lost something, because maybe he just saves his backup keys, his seed phrases in his mind, and that's the only place where it is. So the 4 million, 5 million, 6 million Bitcoin lost, it's just an estimate, because we really don't know how many of those are actually lost, because someone could even claim they're lost and they aren't. So maybe it's just like really hardcore hodlers. Maybe interesting, because you said like with your Fiat mine, I think you're one of the really hard Fiat miners out there that stacks really hard. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing, and for the people that don't know about you?
Yeah, Fiat mining means that I have a job, which used to be commonplace, but I guess nowadays most people are just podcast hosts, right? But that is a job in itself. I'm sure it is a job. No, but yeah, I'm a longshoreman. So we're responsible for all the marine cargo handling. So pretty much anything that comes on a ship that gets moved by a ship has to be carried on or off that ship by a longshoreman. And so I'm a machine operator, and so I'm just responsible for moving containers around all day with my big old $4 million machine. That's like a big Tonka truck. So I like it because it's kind of like in between like a skill craft and just like a dumb man's, do the same thing over and over and over again all day. And I like that actually, because I like to get good at things. I like to become really proficient at things that I do. And so if I repeat the same task over and over and over again, which I have for 11 years almost now, you start to get pretty good at it. And so I consider myself a skilled laborer who does a job that very few people can do anymore. I do well there, and I have some job security there, so I don't feel the need to do all this financial engineering that everybody else is like obsessed with now. So I'm very fortunate for that fact, actually. I think that the obsession with financial engineering and the like over financialization of our whole civilization, at least in the Western world, is just a result of the Fiat landscape and the corruption of our financial system. It's like the money is broken, and so everybody has to figure out a way to turn their money into more money, and that's not the way that human beings they're meant to live. Like they're not meant to like be on your fucking Robinhood app all day long looking at fucking stocks and shit. Like that's not how human beings are supposed to live. And like, people always say like I'm like a fiat miner and like, oh, like Eddie has a job. Like that's how he acquires his Bitcoin. And I'm just like, that's how normal people live. They, you go to work and you save money. That's all I do. I'm not an investor. I'm not, I don't have a financial background. Anything that I understand about finances now, which is, so much more than I understood 5 years ago, is all the result of like me going through the Bitcoin a journey, and like, just, like, oh, like, I don't know what this means. Like, I don't know what bonds are. And so like, now I have to learn about bonds. Like, I don't know what this means. It's like, just, I only know this stuff because Bitcoin led me there, So yeah, I'm just a blue collar fiat miner who saves in perfect money.
I love that because I probably talked about that in previous podcasts. But when I started, I was obsessed with stocks. So I was coming from that stock world. I was one of those finance pros, those stock pros before Bitcoin. And I did all the financial engineering that I could do with my small portfolio. That was like almost laughable what I had back then. And the funny thing is I was, for my small thing, kind of successful in the eyes of my friends, and they're like, oh, like, what are you doing there? And also for aunts and uncles, they came, oh, like, what are you doing there? And I actually started trying to teach people how to pick stocks. But what they actually just wanted is how to save money. Like that's what the answers, they did not want to hear that they have to listen to 10 Qs and 10K reports on quarterly calls of conference calls of companies and dig into that. That's not what they want to spend their free time on. They just want to provide value for a community. However you want to do that, with like a job, with like fiat mining, how we call a job nowadays, and all those things. And then spend time with the family, work out, and those things. And this is basically the Bitcoin dream. We talk about the American dream. I think like that could be called the Bitcoin dream. You just provide value for the community. The value that you get back from the community, you save in Bitcoin, and you live your life. Like it's so simple. I actually, I never told that on the podcast. I thought a lot about this year because because of my Bitcoin income, I have to either spend my Bitcoin or financial engineer my Bitcoin so I can spend fiat. And I decided to just spend my Bitcoin. I just decided to not do anything with debt. I have a bigger income than expenses. As long as this is the case, I can save sats every month. And so, yes, I spend Bitcoin now. I sell Bitcoin now because I have to fuel my life. I have to fuel my business. So I don't do any debts. I don't do any credits. I don't do any of those things. And the simple reason was, for me, I want to sleep at night and don't worry about that thing. I just want to do my podcast and that's it. Like, I don't want to care about, and I know a lot of people probably can give me the calculation why it's a bad financial idea, but I don't care about that. I just want to do my podcast.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the cost of like having to think about all this stuff, and having to like look at a screen and like, I know, like, for some people who just enjoy that stuff, like if you're like a financial engineer and you enjoy this shit, then like awesome, but like I don't enjoy that at all. I'm interested in it enough to like learn about it and to see like where the opportunities are and to pay attention to the space, and as certain products evolve over time, like I'll be paying attention to it, and if the right opportunity presents itself, like I'll take advantage of it. But like as of now, like there's nothing out there now that I'm like, ooh, wow, what a good opportunity. The only thing would be like, when it's still something that I'm learning about, but it would be like the MicroStrategy, the fixed income product, Strike. I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. That seems like a good play. But again, it's not something that like I understand enough to get into, and it's and I'm like, I don't want to learn about this. The other day when I was at that job and I overheard these guys talking about stocks, and they were saying how you have to buy the dip. And I was just sitting there, like, I'm not going to say anything because I've learned I'm past the Bitcoin evangelist phase too, where like, I've got to tell everybody about this and everybody's going to learn about this. And like anything else that you do is retarded. And like, you got to put all your money into this right now. Like the system's about to collapse, and like all of that may still be true, but, I'm not the guy who's going to tell everybody that anymore. So I'm just listening to these guys talking about, the one guy's like, what about Apple? And he's like, yeah, Apple's good. And like the other guy's like, what about NVIDIA? He's like, yeah, NVIDIA's good. Yeah. He goes, oh, okay. How about Amazon? He goes, that's a good one. Yeah, you should. I'm like, and then like, I'm sitting, I'm like, just bet them all. Get all of the Mag 7. They're all good to go. They're all the same thing. They all represent 90% of the gains in the S&P anyway. Like all of them. They're all good. It's all the same thing. But, I'm just like, okay, guys. And then it's interesting how they're not talking about strategy. And I wanted to say, like, how about like the number one performing stock for the last 5 years? You guys like interested in that one at all? Like, and I'm just sitting, I'm like, we're so early, dude. Like, we're so early. But yeah, it's like everybody's obsessed with this, and like they have to be. And I don't think that they realize it's because their money's not getting more valuable and their money's losing value over time. Most people who understand inflation enough to understand that prices are going up forever in fiat terms don't understand that the value of the dollars, the purchasing power of their dollars is going down forever. They don't make that correlation. And so instead of trying to like explain that, I just sit there and go, yeah, give fucking Apple's good. Apple's good. Alphabet, that's a good one too.
I would love to see that. You're sitting in the corner. Yeah, of course, get it. I only have Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't even think about stocks or anything. I don't think about that stuff at all anymore. I just, I buy Bitcoin on a regular basis and hold storage it, and that's it. And then I live my life.
How did you come to that peace? I think a lot of Bitcoiners still to this day don't came to that peace. I think probably the majority of the Bitcoiners, because it's not like the podcast and Twitter bubble that we live in. The majority of Bitcoiners are the ones that have like $2,000 on Coinbase somewhere stored, and they also have some stocks and they have some meme coins. Like that's the actual majority of Bitcoiners in pure numbers, not in how much Bitcoin they have, but in pure numbers when we have a head count. So how did you come to that peaceful state that it's Bitcoin and Bitcoin only?
Yeah, well, I would say gradually, then suddenly, for sure. I was a shitcoiner in like 2018, 19, 20. In 2020, I closed out all of my traditional investment accounts. Like I called up my Charles Schwab guy, and I was like, close the account. I'm going all in on this crypto shit. But the guy even said, he was like, are you sure? I was like, yes, sir. I'm sure. At that time, I would say I was probably like, I would have told people that I was like 50% Bitcoin and then, 30%, top 10 coins, and then 20%, shit coins, not understanding that like everything was a shit coin. Because I thought like, Ethereum and XRP and Cardano, like these are solid projects, like these are the long-term holds, all you gotta do is just keep holding these things. And I eventually, like, I found a project way down the list that I thought was, going to go to the moon, and, like I got damned pretty hard. I like eventually moved like all my funds into that one a token, and so I sold my Bitcoin in 2021 actually at the top of the market. Actually sold for 68K, and like I thought I was a genius, but then I moved it into a shitcoin, and so that was the last time that I sold my Bitcoin actually, and so I got like I just got scammed, and I lost like of my life savings essentially. I put into this one shitcoin project, and it was a very elegant rug pull that went on for like 2 years. So it was like 2 years of gaslighting, saying it's coming, we're going to launch soon, blah, blah, blah. We've got this new investor coming in. We got a few $1 million that just got injected. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. There was like a website, a podcast. Like these guys went to great lengths to, solidify the scam that they pulled on everybody, and they had scammed everybody within the first couple weeks. And so for 2.5 years, it was just like nonsense gaslighting and whatever. So, sometime in that process, in that 2.5 years, I learned enough about Bitcoin to understand that this one's not like the other ones. The differentiation here, largely is the counterparty risk, and that there's no counterparty risk with Bitcoin. And so I learned that firsthand. Is that I don't want to deal with a founder. I don't want to deal with a community that I have to be a part of, and I have to do all this shit for, and I have to promote their thing. I don't want to do any of that stuff. And so I learned firsthand that Bitcoin's lack of counterparty risk is the real attractiveness for me. And then I just learned about the properties of money. And then I got into Austrian economics, and then I got into game theory. And then I learned about how fiat is is the most evil, corrupt system of all time. And then I learned about central banks. I learned about Jekyll Island. I learned, and then I learned, I'm still going down the rabbit hole on everything, and everything I do solidifies my conviction more and more. And then, I got into my evangelist phase where after that, I just wanted to tell everybody, I'm listen, guys, our money's fucked. We got to get out of this thing. And trying to convince everybody that it's us against the central bankers, the banks, the governments, everybody's in on this. And we actually have an opportunity right now to take back control of the world, put the control back into the hands of the individual, and that's what decentralization is. This is a decentralized movement to pull power away from centralized authorities and into the hands of the individual. That is what Bitcoin is, what the movement is, and then there's a financial aspect to it as well that, is also attracted to people. But so I got into my evangelist phase, and I wanted to tell everybody that. And I think after a year of that or so, just getting beat down essentially by me explaining all of this stuff to everybody, and then people going oh, cool, did you touch the game the other day? I'm oh man, you guys are fucked. I think after that, I was just all right, I'm just gonna hold this in here more, and internalize this more. And then I would say that I reached a stacking goal that I honestly when I lost everything in 2022. I was in a shit place, dude. I was in debt. I was in $90,000 worth of debt, and I had no money left, and it was a rough time for me. And I went, oh man, I would have done. It's I did not do the responsible thing. I did not pay down my debt and focus on that first. Like I stayed at the margins for a year in order to establish a position in Bitcoin that like made me feel like I was like a part of this thing, you know, because I was afraid this thing was gonna, I didn't want to get left behind, you know, and like I understood this as like a once in a lifetime event, and so I was like irresponsibly stacking and, you know, servicing my debt just enough, you know, and like I didn't have a life outside of that, you know, like I couldn't really afford to do anything else for a long time. And then, I started getting some headway there, and then I reached a stacking goal, and I paid down my debt enough, and then we got back on track, and then my job improved too. We got a raise there last year. We actually negotiated like the best organized labor contract of all time recently. So we're all very happy with it. And I hit a stacking goal that I'm like, I have enough, to feel like that. Like even if I never added another one, like I would feel like, my retirement in 30 years or whatever is going to be okay. It's like I consider that like as like enough for me is like enough to avoid being old and poor. That's what enough is for me. Like I'm not looking to buy a Lambo. And so it's like the combination of all of that, and then just deciding one day that like I don't want to keep checking the price every day like this. I don't want to keep staring at my screen. I don't want to, I just don't. It's like it's enough. And also like I just think like short-term price predictions are like the lowest form of vision. To be honest with you, I'm just like, I don't care. I got a friend of mine who asks me all the time. He's like, Ed, when are we going to, a 500K? I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. It's not going to change my life anyway. It's not going to lead to like any sort of action anyway. And so I think just like realizing all of that, like even if this thing goes to $1 million tomorrow, I'm still going to get up and go to work. I'm still going to do all the things that I could do now. And so I don't care. And I think that like the process of all of that has just led me to be like here now, which is where I'm like, I don't care about the price. I don't care about anything anymore. Like I've come so far. And so it's like the zen that it may seem like I have now, like I fucking earned it, dude. Like that's how, like I earned it.
Let's take a break for a moment and appreciate the beauty that Coin Vigilante has made with the Bitcoin watches. Those watches are the most amazing, the most elegant way of showing that you are a true Bitcoiner. And Coin Vigilante just dropped a completely new and amazing Genesis edition of their watch collections. You have the date of the first ever mined Bitcoin block in there, and of course also the block height and which epoch we are currently in. I love the level of detail they put in this masterpiece. Make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. And now if you have Bitcoin, I really do hope that you don't have it on exchange. But if you do have it on exchange, I have two ways for you to deal with that. that. The first way is you put it on a hardware wallet. That's the entry for you to get into the self-custody game. I recommend BitBox, Bitcoin only edition for that. It's a super simple and secure way. And if you check out the link in the description, you even get 5% off if you use the code Robin. And the second way is the Bitcoin way. The Bitcoin way is your all-in partner in terms of how to get the most out of your sovereignty. They will personalize for you a self-custody setup that is perfect for your individual situation. They will show you how you can secure your own devices. Securing your Bitcoin is not enough. You also have to keep all your devices secure. One topic that is overlooked often is the inheritance plan. What happens with your Bitcoin once you are no longer here? Do you have a plan for that in place already? And last but not least, if you're in the jurisdictions where you don't feel safe, it's better to get a plan B. For all that, head over to thebitcoinway.com/Robin to get a 30-minute free call. And just a quick side note, I will be for the first time ever speaking at the Bitcoin Prague event in June. It will be absolutely legendary and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you there. You can get your ticket in the link down in the description of Bitcoin Prague, and very important, use code Robin to get 10% off your ticket. I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. A lot of people also feel like they never have enough Bitcoin. I think that's like one small nugget you gave in there of like, hey, I reached a goal that I'm happy with and I don't have to do something above that. Like I have enough. I keep stacking, but I feel satisfied with my Bitcoin stack. A lot of, I don't know, like I'm not yet, I'm not yet there. Like that's one thing where I'm like, okay, I'm not satisfied at all. Maybe that's just me saying like, maybe it's also the age. I don't know. Maybe with 26, you think differently. I don't know if how you look at that, but I have not come to the sense. I've come to the sense that I know it's Bitcoin only, but I've not come to the sense that I have enough. I was all like, I really want to do way more. I mean, there's like 80 years in front of me, so I'm not rushing. I don't look out for short-term gains. But when I just look at the stack now, I'm like, nah, not enough.
If you could sell each coin for $100 million, did you have enough?
Yeah, probably.
Then you have enough. It's just that simple. You only don't feel that you have enough right now because you're valuing it in the current fiat offering. And so that's what it feels like. Also, like enough is subjective. Like enough for what? You know? And so like enough will change all the time. Like right now too, like you might just want to have enough to be able to live and fund your current lifestyle for 40 more years or 60. Fuck, you're so young. Like you don't have enough. You're right. You don't have enough yet. But no, like if you wanted to, it's like as I get older, I realized like I want more money so I could take care of more people. Like that's where like anytime that I feel like I don't have enough yet, it's because like I want to help more people with it. And I understand that any money that I save now can potentially help, 10x, 100x more in the future. I know it's going to sound like I'm like I'm super humble and like I don't think about myself or anything like that. And like I just want to help other people, but I don't know. I think I just learned about value and like I don't value of course like I would love to have like a fucking like a sweet luxury, a vehicle and all that stuff. But like at the same time, like I don't I value that stuff anymore because I view all of that as like tainted by fiat. Like I think all of that like luxury and marketing and all of that, like all of that is like a fiat extension. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. You know, it just makes me sick. And I think of what the world would look like if none of us valued like status as much as we all do now. Like everybody does, right? But it's like if we changed the perception of what status meant, and it stopped meaning like, oh, that guy's rich, and it started meaning, oh, that guy's really smart, or that guy's really helpful, or you know, that guy's a good conversationalist, a good friend, he's a good mentor. Like if we changed, and I think we all still value that stuff. It's just that like the fiat system is constantly, you know, trying to convince you that unless you have an M5, you suck. And I think that that's just like the worst message, especially for like younger men, you know, because like we just need to get back to just having strong men in the world. And I think that like all of the fiat nonsense it just makes men into like cowards.
That made me thinking of the last call I did with you and with the YouTube members. I think it was Michael who said it. And it actually since then it stuck with me in my brain. That's just one sentence that he said, and I can't remember exactly, but I remember the essence of it. He is like, "Oh, I could afford a nice car, but I know this money of this nice car could also help somewhere to build a school, something along those lines." He said, and he knows like if I give that whatever amount of dollars it is to a nice car, that's amount of dollars that I cannot give to something I truly care about. And so it's like this discussion of what do you actually value? Do you value being there for your people and caring for your family, for your loved ones, for your neighbors, and maybe even like building schools somewhere and stuff like that, like if going beyond and beyond, way beyond of that? Or do you care about your status and you want a Lambo so other people are jealous of you? Like, what do you want of that?
Yeah, you know, and I know now, like my mom is 65, and like, oh man, like all I want, I will drive a Toyota for the rest of my life if it means that like I can buy my mom a house like near the beach and just make sure that she's taken care of for the rest of her life. That's all I want. And so like the idea of me, you know, and like I can, you know, I always hate saying this, but like I can afford things. Like I don't have to live the life that I live right now, but I do because I like what an asshole I would be if I was paying $1,400 a month to drive a car when like my mom, you know, needs that money. You know, I don't, you know, it's just, and this is the stuff that you learn when you like really dig into value and you understand what value is. And like, I never asked myself that, like, what is value? Like, where does value come from? How is this valuable to me? You know, and like, these are things that like I ask myself all the time before any purchase nowadays, you know, like how, like, why is this valuable? And, you know, Bitcoin is the mechanism that really like enables us to start asking those questions.
That's really awesome. How do you define value? Like, do you have a framework to think about what value actually is?
Well, whenever I start to think about it, it's just like an immediate like subjectiveness, right? Like subjectivity is at the core of understanding value. So, the idea of intrinsic value, which like whenever I hear somebody say like, oh, this person doesn't understand value, but what they usually mean is utility value. That's usually what they mean, and they're just conflating the terms. Like Peter Schiff does not actually understand that what he's trying to say is utility value. But let's not get into that one. But so like understanding that a value is not something that's inherent within things; it's a thing that we place on things. So the source of all value is the individual, it's the human, or the collective as well, because the collective can also value things as a whole too. But humans place value on things. A value does not exist innately within things. A shiny gold rock does not have value within it innately. We choose to apply that value onto it. And so all value begins in the human mind. So that's like the framework that like I consider it from always. I always start, value begins in here, and it's always contextual and it's always dependent on the situation, because $1 trillion in cash does you no good if you're on a deserted island. I mean, you could use it for, to start a fire, but that's about it. Maybe toilet paper, but if you're, but yeah. So contextual, subjective, amorphous, like it to change at all times. I don't think a lot of people understand that fiat, all fiat is subject to be turned off. The government can decide that any serial number, dollar bill, or whatever, can all of a sudden, by decree, have no value anymore. They can just decide that. And so, when you understand that, it's like value, it only exists in our minds. And I think that that's like number one for people to get across. And then there's utility value is this other thing, but it still applies to human beings, because it's like, how can we utilize this for our needs? And so that's what utility value is, just a more defined, less abstract form of value.
Is there, and that's so profound, I love that, and it's something something in the Bitcoin community is actually kind of well understood, the subjectivity of value. But I think it's so important that we hammer that down more and more, because whenever I go outside of the Bitcoin community, there's this concept of like, yeah, there's like value, there's price, but the value, there's some kind of magic intrinsic value, which there isn't. And I love your desert example, because I always bring that example up with people that don't believe me. I'm like, how much do you value? If I give you the choice right now and I say, hey, I give you a Lambo or a bottle of water, what would you take? You would probably take the Lambo, because water is pretty easy to get. But if you're in the desert, most Lambos cannot drive in the desert. So that's the only thing. Between those two choices, you would take the water because it means you can live a little bit longer. You can go a little bit longer because I believe I never drove my Lambo in the desert, but I believe they probably are pretty useless out there. Otherwise, my comparison is bad. but
Yeah,
you
but
get
you
what
would
I
look
mean.
cool as hell, though. You would look cool as hell out there for sure.
Yeah, but it would just like go into the sand.
Yeah, it's like and even in Bitcoin too, because I had a hard time first because I was orange pilled from Michael Saylor, just listening to his podcast and specifically his Breed Love About His Money episodes 1 through 9, which if anybody hasn't seen, like you should watch that, like that will help you a lot here. And his like analogy between energy, and basically storing your a physical energy into a money form, like that's that we do. Then we trade labor for money. We're storing our physical energy that we exert, and it's going into the money that we then save. It's like stored productivity or excess productivity. But then, like, I thought that, like, objectively, that my energy was actually in the Bitcoin. Like, I thought that for a few months, and until I dug into more of the libertarians, and I understood this subjectivity of value, and then I was like, this Bitcoin's not really worth anything, and I went into that sort of thing. Like it only is because we all agree on it, because because of the value that we place on things. So like my Bitcoin is valued by me. Somebody else could also like value it, but that doesn't mean that I have to sell it for that price. Like I value my Bitcoin at a minimum of $100 million right now. If everybody else valued their Bitcoin at $50 million, I would no longer value mine at $100 million. So like I would increase it from there. It's not for sale, but it's just an example of saying it like this, right? We value things. We place our value on things. Value is not inherently in things. And like, I'll say that over and over and over because people will still attach themselves to this idea of intrinsic value.
And this leads me to an interesting one, because we can just take the open source code of Bitcoin and copy it. That's what basically shitcoins are all about. And this brings us to the idea of like, okay, what is actually the revolution behind Bitcoin? And this is the idea, I think Jeff Booth usually talks about that the most, the idea of we are Bitcoin. It's the social layer. It's the revolution. It's the story. It's the origin. It's the network effect. It's all those things combined that makes Bitcoin valuable, not any single piece of it. It's the code. It's the social layer. It's the origin story. It's the network effect. It's the history. It's like everything combined is the value of Bitcoin, and it's only valued because we all are valuing it. I cannot say it better than we are Bitcoin. It's the social layer.
Yeah, the thing that we value is all of it comprehensively. It's not like we just value the network, or we just value the origin story, or we just value the utility of it. We value like the perfect storm of all of it coming together. And when you consider it like that, the idea of saying it's only worth $1 million each is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous notion to even attach a fiat price to it, to try to say that there is an equivalent number of pieces of paper that could equate to the value of this perfect network, this perfect monetary system. The idea that like that fiat could even come close to that is absurd, which is why I say like mine's not up for sale in fiat terms. It's just not. And, you know, and like I always say like, you know, to Bitcoiners who are like obsessed with that, like have some respect, like have some respect for the thing that you're holding. This thing is immaculate. We're never going to get another one like this. You should place the value on it accordingly and taking into account the entire picture of it and understanding that it will never be replicated again.
I love that. It really is. Is there for you, or I guess there is, what is for you the non-financial value of Bitcoin that Bitcoin brought to your life?
Bro, that brought to my life, well, just the understanding value, understanding the people, understanding like incentives, understanding that incentives drive everything, and that if you're not incentivized to do something, that you can't do it, and that you could essentially predict human behavior if you understand what their incentives are. If you just understand what the system that everybody's operating in incentivizes and what it disincentivizes, you can pretty much predict human behavior. You can pretty much see like what's going to happen next. I think that's pretty valuable thing. But the one thing I did want to touch upon was like the value of Bitcoin outside of the financial aspect. Can I get into that real quick?
Absolutely.
So I just want to say, because like this is like a thing that I've only started really thinking about more, and now that I'm not paying attention to the price anymore, it's like people don't understand how secure the network is. And people don't understand how large and powerful this network is. And I think it's like, man, do you understand what a terahash is? Like a terahash is per second. Every second, 1 trillion computations. That's 1 terahash. An exahash is 1 million of those. We're already at a number that human beings can't, like, I could say that and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that sounds like a lot. Like, we can't even fucking fathom how high that number is. It's 1 million trillions. And then the Bitcoin network has 8 of those. We're approaching 8 of those, 8 million trillions. It's a number that's like farcical. Like, I'm certainly not intelligent enough to visualize this in my head. I just know it's so far out of reach. And that's every second, 8 million trillion computations take place on the network. And every single one of those actions goes towards securing the network. This would be like when people talk about there's no counterparty risk, right? It's like when you drive to work every day and you go over a bridge, right? You risk that bridge collapsing on you. It's a very, very low chance though, right? Because you understand that there were engineers that built this thing and the city approved it, and there was all this financing that went behind this bridge. That was just one time. Yeah, they do some maintenance on a bridge every now and then, but it's just the one time really. And you trust that, right? Like, you trust that every day with your life. Imagine if that bridge had millions of engineers and builders and laborers and people working on that bridge every day. And every second, there were 8 million trillion actions taken to reinforce the security of that bridge. Would you ever think about, am I safe? You don't think about, are you safe now? You just drive over it now. And none of that's going on. Imagine if there were 8 million trillion actions taken every second to ensure that bridge was safe and secure. You would drive over, it would be the most safe and secure bridge ever. And that's what we have here. That's why we say no counterparty risk. There's no counterparty risk at all because of the fact that there's so much energy and financial energy and physical energy that's going into securing this network all day, every day, constantly. And it's only going higher too. There's only more and more of an effort going in to secure this thing. When I think about that, I'm like, of course I would want to own a piece of that bridge. Why wouldn't you? That's the one. I love that one. I love that one, man.
I never heard that. That was so good. I think we have to clip that one for the clips channel as you sent me the Jeff one, also the Jeff Ross one.
I would be honored. Wow. Yeah, I came up with that this morning, actually. I swear to God. I got up this morning. I was like, oh, I should say that to him this morning.
That's freaking brilliant, because I think people cannot comprehend big numbers in their brains so good. So we have to come up with comparisons to make it easier for the brain to understand, because like there's a watt, there's a tera, like we don't know what those numbers and words even mean. They are so big. If you look at the hash rate over time of Bitcoin, it just goes up straight in a line. Basically, it's way crazier even than the Bitcoin price. And then you're like, okay, but what does that actually mean? And your bridge example is like the best explanation, honestly, that I ever heard on that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is what happens when you don't obsess over the price all day. I actually have an opportunity to like examine the network, to examine what actually Bitcoin is. And what Bitcoin is this monetary system that produces new units of itself at a descending rate of inflation over time that halves every 4 years, but the new units are produced every 10 minutes loyally, faithfully, and that's it. Like that's it. Like it's just this thing that makes more of itself with human interaction involved. I always think about Bitcoin as like a waterfall. I know that's like a sailor's analogy, but I think about it as like it's just this thing that exists in nature. It's just like the digital nature, like the natural digital landscape. It's there, and like anybody who wants to participate in it, anybody who wants to like jump in the water, sit under the waterfall, play in it, like it's just there, and you have access to it. And if you're willing to provide energy and resources and capital, like you could capture some of it. Like that's it. But it's this thing that's just in nature. It's a commodity like that.
I just have one question before we come to our end routines. But is there any plans when you will start your own podcast?
Oh, Robin, on the spot. I don't know. You know what? I do want to start like a YouTube channel. And just, I don't know. Yeah. Yes. I have plans. Yes.
I'm really looking forward to that day. We will definitely the soon as you start, we will do a third round on the podcast.
Okay.
People love you. we have an end routine of 2 questions, and I kind of altered a little bit my first question for people that have been on the podcast already. So my first question is, what did you learn since you have last been on besides Bitcoin?
Oh, no. No. It's like the first thing that popped into mind is probably something that would wreck your algorithm. I'm still looking into that too. I would say that like, okay. Is that everything that we do in the traditional financial world, we have to ask for permission for first. There is no action that you take that is a sovereign action. Everything you do financially, you ask for permission first from either the bank or the government or your investment firm or whoever it is. You can't do anything on your own.
That's a profound thing to stumble upon, because I'm not a fan of asking permission.
Me either, Robin. Me either.
Really cool. We have an end routine, as you know, from in the podcast, where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, if Bitcoin would be a teacher, what lesson do you think it's trying to teach humanity?
Humility.
That came quick.
The easy one. I learned it from Bitcoin. Easy. Humility. Human beings are we think so highly of ourselves as a result of the Fiat inspired status that we claim, right? Like people who make like if you know somebody who like used to make a little bit of money and now they make a lot of money, you'll notice like they think so highly of themselves, and like, or if you've been making a lot of money for a long time, you think very, very highly of yourself. Not for everybody, obviously, but I think that Fiat is this thing that leads us to believe that we're more valuable than we actually are, because Fiat is a thing that we believe is more valuable than it actually is. And so Bitcoin is this thing that humbles you and makes you understand what your actual value is. And it's like the only value that you really have is the value that you can provide other people. It's not the value, the way that you value yourself in your own head, right? Because that's just like a Fiat, a mindset.
You call it Fiat mindset. I call it delusional.
I like that one too. Yeah.
Really cool. Thank you so much, Eddie, for being on. It was, as always, a joy. And I can't wait for the 3rd round, because that means you have a YouTube channel and you have your own podcast. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Thank you so much, Eddie, for being on. Also, thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye.